Every team has this one player, a natural talent who doesn't necessarily care about chemistry or your feelings, but at the end of the day, still ends up being the most dangerous player on the pitch. In Blue Lock, that player is Rin Itoshi, but how would scouts actually see him in a realistic setting, and what would they say truly makes him such a dangerous player? That's what we'll find out in this video. Welcome to the Blue Lock Scout Report, the series where we analyze every top Blue Lock player to find out what truly makes them great before building the ultimate U20 lineup based around that player. And today we're putting the spotlight on Blue Lock's number 1, Rin Itoshi. But before we continue, be sure to subscribe if you want to help decide who should be the next player that we analyze in the series. Because as of right now, there should be a new post where you can vote on who will take over the next episode. But with that out of the way, let's get back to Rin and go over his player profile. Rin Itoshi is just 17 years old and already on track to sign a 240 million yen contract with Real. His primary position is striker, but if you guys have watched my videos before, you know personally I think he is a great winger and arguably a better winger than striker, but I'll cover that more in the tactical fit section. As a striker, Rin's primary role is as an advanced forward or complete striker. As a secondary option, he can also play as more of a false 9, dropping back more than your typical striker to participate in build-up play. As a winger, however, his role changes to more of an inside forward or inverted winger. Physically, Rin stands at 6'2", which is an excellent height for a striker, and honestly, it's technically a little bit oversized for your typical winger. He's right-footed with a fairly solid weak foot, giving him versatility in finishing. Rin is the kind of player who stands out instantly, whether it's from his shooting accuracy, game IQ, or his ability to dominate individually. You can tell he's the type of talent who naturally becomes the star of any team he's placed in. And on the topic of that, let's go over his weapons. His initial weapon or core weapon is his ridiculous kicking accuracy and high curve. Some secondary weapons he's picked up is his destroyer mode, predator eye, spatial awareness, and of course his insane dribbling ability. For Rin's playstyle tagline, I went with individual beast. This tagline takes his new nickname, which is the Beast, and adds individual in front of it to highlight just how dangerous of a solo threat he is. Rin is practically the definition of a player you can kind of just pass the ball to when nobody else is having a good game, because with or without your help, he's going to figure something out through pure skill. A complete lethal weapon on his own. When it comes to Rin's attacking contribution, the first thing we'll talk about is his goal threat. His signature weapon is his kicking accuracy and curve, which makes him favor more of a finesse shooting style over raw shot power. But don't let that fool you. Just because he goes for more finesse shots does not mean that his range is short, as Rin is able to shoot well past the 18-yard box at a high and consistent level, making him an overall lethal finisher from any range. Now, usually players who rely on placement shots and curve only shoot effectively on the opposite side of their strong foot. I mean, think of your modern day wingers. If they're right-footed, they're always positioned on the left, and if they're left-footed, they're always going to be positioned on the right. So this comes up as a problem for Rin as someone who likes to go for high curve placement shots, but they're playing in the center of the field as a striker. But Rin has already developed 2 solutions for this problem. The first is he's already improved his weak foot. It's not quite at the same level as his right foot, but it's good enough to keep defenders on their toes. The second solution is that he's actually mastered the Trivela shot. This shot lets him whip high curve shots on his right foot, even though he's playing on the right side of the field. And so those 2 solutions make Rin this lethal shooter no matter where he's positioned on the field. It doesn't matter when he's on the left or the right, close range or far range. He has a solidified method to get high percentage shots on the net. And now combine all that with things like Predator Eye, and then you have one of Blue Lock's most dangerous and capable shooters, a player capable of scoring in so many ways that half the U20 players can't even imagine. Moving on to chance creation, this is where Rin becomes a little bit more interesting. Outside destroyer mode, he's actually one of Blue Lock's top creators. He doesn't have meta vision, but his vision is still at the elite level. While he's not the most eager passer, his link-up play is still solid, and his final third passing is good enough to break through defenses. The problem comes when Rin enters his destroyer mode. In that mindset, he sacrifices his team-oriented chance creation for pure individualistic play, relying almost entirely on one-on-ones and solo shot creation. This is what makes Rin's destroy mode a double-edged sword. It can result in things like Rin coming up clutch, or in him dragging his entire team down when he tries to become a one-man show. Positioning and movement are also strengths of Rin's. Even without metavision, Rin consistently identifies optimal areas to position himself, both in possession and off the ball. His vision and athleticism allow him to time runs and drift into pockets of space that open scoring opportunities. He doesn't rely on off-ball movement as heavy as other players like Isagi, but it's still one of his underrated tools. And lastly, we have Rin's one-on-one ability. Rin is already a naturally good dribbler, but his destroy mode elevates that ability in multiple ways. Rin's initial use of his destroy mode was to identify the main strength or weapon of his opponent and baiting them into using it to counter it in his own way to completely destroy that player. This was the main dribbling technique he used in the U20 match, but over the course of the NEL, that method has changed. Now Rin's destroy mode technique tends to rely more on his own physical strength. He uses a combination of his already good dribbling paired up with his good physicality and athleticism to essentially unlock this physical style of dribbling where he constantly crashes into people, going full force into them. And while these two techniques are a little bit different, they essentially revolve on the same idea of Rin destroying the opponent. Both the techniques result in Rin becoming a truly oppressive offensive threat, becoming an attacker that no defender ever wants to go up against. When it comes to Rin's defensive contribution, the first thing to highlight is his pressing intelligence. Rin has shown multiple times that he can make defensive actions purely through field awareness, like when he intercepted Sai's pass to Shido in the U20 match. His pressing ability comes from a mix of vision, game IQ, and lastly athleticism. Let him quickly identify the most dangerous player on the pitch and moving fast to shut them down. So compared to your average U20 striker, Rin's pressing intelligence is on the much higher level. Next up is his defensive work rate, another underrated strength of his. Among all the Blue Lock strikers, Rin is one of the most consistent when it comes to tracking back defensively. He uses his vision and athleticism to drop into dangerous areas when his team needs his support, making him far more engaged defensively than your typical star striker. And finally, ball recovery. This is where Rin stands out the most, because despite playing as a forward, Rin honestly has made a regular occurrence to perform successful tackles or interceptions, including his insanely clutch stop on Sai during the U20 match, or his interception where he stopped the Kaiser Impact Magnus pass to Isagi. And what makes him truly unique when it comes to ball recovery is his defensive Predator Eye. Normally, Predator Eye is used to score goals by either locking in on the keeper or a defender to find small lapses in the defense to unleash a shot. But Rin flips the entire use of Predator Eye, finding out a way to use it defensively, focusing on a specific player and man marking them, and then using Predator Eye to find the perfect opportunity to strike to win the ball back. That ability is what makes him a surprisingly effective defensive player, something you'll rarely see from any striker. Let's start with Rin's decision making. This is one of his actual underrated abilities, because before the U20 match, Rin wasn't just dominating because of straight talent, he was also reading the field better than anybody else. Among the non-metavision users, he's easily the smartest, and arguably on par with some of the weaker metavision users. So why does Rin get criticized for his decision making? The answer is what you probably already know, and I think I've said earlier in this video, it's his destroyer mode. When Rin enters that state, his decision making doesn't suddenly become bad, the choices are still decent, but he becomes heavily predictable. And against any top level metavision user like Isagi, that predictability is enough to get him shut down. Now let's talk adaptability. At his core, Rin's adaptability is elite. In the U20 match, when Blue Lock couldn't create anything, Rin was the first to adjust and produce a goal out of nothing, even faster than the so-called adaptability genius. But again, in destroyer mode, his play can start to look predictable. But despite the predictability of his destroyer mode, Rin has already started to adapt to that and actually improve it. We see this in cases like when he used the spacing to dribble past Ikaguri or activating his Predator Eye defensively. So while destroyer mode can honestly end up being quite predictable, because of Rin's natural adaptability, he's sometimes able to break out of the predictability of destroyer mode and actually become an unpredictable threat. Next up is clutch factor. Rin has a reputation for being clutch in nearly every match he plays, often dragging his team over the line, but he is criticized for his Best Munchen vs PXG game, missing multiple chances to end the game. The truth is, Rin's goal in this match wasn't even actually to win. It was to destroy Isagi. So yeah, when his obsession with Isagi or Sai gets in the way, it could lead to him throwing some games. But when he's focused on purely winning, Rin is almost guaranteed to deliver in those big moments. And finally, there's Rin's ego. His ego is a huge strength, driving his constant improvement, but it's also one of his biggest concerns a scout would flag. Rin's ego isn't about being the best for the sake of the game. It's built on destroying his rivals like Sai and Isagi. So what happens if he were to finally beat them? Does he lose motivation? Does he stop improving? What truly happens after Rin becomes truly better than Isagi and Sai? And as we've seen before, having your ego be set on something that's not too difficult and something you can accomplish early may actually lead to an early downfall of that player. But as of right now, Rin's ego is still thriving, so it's too early to call it a negative rather than a positive. When it comes to Rin's tactical fit, there are three main systems where he thrives. The first is the classic single striker formation. Rin's elite finishing, strength, and individual ability makes him a perfect advance forward who can lead the line all by himself. The second is a two-striker formation. While Rin's reputation is built on his individual brilliance, his link-up play isn't bad, and it's actually a pretty good asset. But pairing him up with a second striker, or at least a shadow striker, gives him the option for 1-2s, or gives him more space by the second striker, creating decoy runs, making Rin an even harder player to defend. And the third is what I mentioned earlier, which is Rin as a left winger, playing as an inside forward or inverted winger. This role actually maximizes his solo play and dribbling ability because he can drop deeper to pick up the ball and drive at the defenders. As a striker, there's always a risk of him getting starved of service against compact teams since he's in the center of the field. But on the wing, he's guaranteed to get more touches on the ball, more space, and can exploit the opposing team's fullbacks to cut in and unleash his signature high curve, high placement shots. Honestly, you could just think of it as him playing as a more versatile and better Chigiri. No offense to the Chigiri fans. On top of that, because of Rin's excellent weak foot, despite playing as an inverted winger, he could still have a lethal crossing ability, using his left foot on the left side to whip in high curling crosses into the box. Now let's talk ideal partnerships for Rin. The first is going to be a playmaker. Despite being an intelligent and lethal striker, Rin still massively benefits from having an elite passer next to him, someone who can consistently feed him the ball when he's in a dangerous position. The second is a shadow striker or second striker. A partner making consistent off-ball runs or staying nearby for quick combination is a perfect fit for Rin. It gives Rin someone to bounce passes off of or use as a decoy, giving him space to exploit. And lastly, the third player will be the same as Isagi, which was the wild card. Because of Rin's elite individual play, he can honestly play with anyone, or at least simply ignore them if they don't suit his game. He's such an individual force that he'll find a way to impose himself regardless. Of course, the right partner does elevate his game to another level, but even without it, Rin is more than capable of carrying his own weight and more. So, what makes Rin Itoshi such a dangerous player? It's not just one thing, it's the specific combination of all his weapons. His elite shooting technique, paired with his high game IQ and dribbling ability, makes him the complete attacking threat. There's no real glaring weaknesses when it comes to Rin's offensive game, which makes him a constant problem for defenders to deal with. A player who, when at peak performance, forces the entire game to revolve around him through pure skill and intelligence. And so if that's Rin on his own, the bigger question is what happens when you build a full team around him? Does he stay just as dangerous, or does he become 10 times the player he was before? That's exactly what we'll find out in the next video, where we build the full Blue Lock U20 team around the Rin Itoshi.